Hello, hello. It is Wednesday and we need to work on those whips. For the uninitiated, whip is WIP, work in progress, and I have plenty of those. So I like to rotate my projects, and you'll have to let me know if you like seeing different projects each week, or as I start one of my big projects for 2026, I'm thinking I want to do it consecutively. So you'll see multiple weeks working on one quilt rather than just one at a time. I started the variety, different blocks each week, different quilt projects, because I use this time to showcase my cotton cuts projects, the puzzle mystery quilts, which are block of the month. So you only have one block to sew, and then you have several weeks to wait for the next one. And that's why I fill in with other projects. But I am planning a Storm at Sea sew along, and that will, I'm thinking I want to do that multiple weeks in a row, and we need to check in with chat. I see Linda. Hopefully she gets back. She was going to grab some coffee. Wondering what your beverage of choice is. I have my water here. And Misty is with us. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Say hello. Tell us what you're working on in the chat. So I have my 3-yard quilt book, the Go Bold version, and I am making the Nebula quilt, which you can see there. And I'm trying to respect copyright and not show you any of the instructions. So we have these fun blocks. And before I came on camera, I was looking at the pattern and I was really confused because they were saying for the twin version to have 8 rows, but it's only 4. So I was like, what's going on? Because I've put my big blocks together like this. And we were talking a couple weeks ago, and I'm using hangers with clips, and that's just a really nice way to keep all of my blocks together. And I've got a couple different variations here of fabric and sashing because I'm trying to make this really scrappy. So it took me a while because I'm wondering, where did they get all these high number of blocks? But they're considering a block just one portion, where I've put them together in blocks of 4 to make that kind of star unit. So that is what I am working on. Oh, good. I'm so glad you made it back, Linda. Coffee in hand. Oh, Misty, best friends. I like Pepsi too. If I have a choice at a fountain machine between Pepsi and Coke, it's always Pepsi. And so many people don't like it, but that's fine. There's more for me. And Amanda has joined us. Good to see you. So I just need to get the red borders on these last few blocks and then trim. So as I get all the information put together for that Storm at Sea quilt, I will definitely include that question. Do we want to work straight through or just do, one block a month kind of thing? I don't know how many different projects people have going on and other stuff. The next Cotton Cuts quilt is called Field of Dreamers, and I'm doing an all blue variation, of course. And that will kick off in February. The first clue is mailed on February 6th, so there's still time to get in on that Cotton Cuts quilt. Ooh, cream soda. Yes, that's yummy. And Misty, you were confusing Amanda and Amber. There is another gal in our group, the Cheeky Quilter, and her name is Amber. So yes, we have Amanda and Amber, and we're all in a discussion group about quilting on video. And Jess is in there too. Yay, we've got all the fun gals here. Gents are welcome. We just don't see them quite as early or as often. But in that discussion group, we were talking about sew-alongs and block of the month projects, and whether you find it inspirational, if you're getting overwhelmed at, oh, we've got to join, we've got to go, and if that creates some kind of pressure and how we can distance ourselves from that, because it's just like it's like the social media addiction. We need to join in and post about it so we can get those likes and hits, and then we're spending all our time on social media and not actually creating the thing. So, oh, Misty got it by autocorrect. Yeah, I know. It's silly. It's because you type it and then you're like, okay, fine, I'm moving on. And then once you hit send, you realized it autocorrected after you finished the sentence. It's like, I know. If I don't choose your automatic option right away, then I'm fine with what the spelling was. The autocorrect that gets me a lot is when it changes SEW to CSEE. I'm like, that doesn't even really make sense in this context. And you would think that it would have seen enough of my posts to know I'm talking about fabric and sewing machines, and I do mean sew. And then I've got one more block that needs both blue and red on it. So let's figure out what the orientation is here. So the pattern has me sewing my blocks all to one long strip and then trimming. And I know we discussed this last time I was working on this project, that I would rather cut all my sashing strips to the right size. Okay, so I have to do these to the blue. Those can go back here by the ironing board. And my blue strips were not with the fabric, so I'm going to need a little bit extra on those. Nope. You know, let me. Nope. Out of bobbin thread. So, and I hate this because they give me such a long amount. I could probably sew another whole block with that amount of thread, but the machine won't let me. Wants me to fill her up And what I've started doing is leaving a full spool on my machine. Turn it, see. Loaded back here for the bobbin, and then a different spool to actually thread the machine, so then I can wind my bobbin without rethreading the machine. So there's a little tip for you today. Okay. Amanda, these are the ones that I had to rip out on New Year's Eve because I didn't follow my pre-planned color scheme. Okay, I'm getting behind on the comments. Oh, Linda was saying that her block of the month, she thought the fabric was thinner than she'd like. So yeah, thick batting. Hopefully that works out. Dubrovka, hello, welcome. And I love these 3-yard patterns because they're fairly simple piecing, and that means you get a fast finish. And I like that, especially for charity quilts. My red and blue, and these are, I've chosen some yellowish batiks for my background. So that will be, hopefully that will look all right for a Quilt of Valor, even though it's not the pure red, white, and blue. And that's my other idea for a quilt along. I actually have 2 patriotic patterns that I'd like to do as sew alongs. And they're both decent size for Quilts of Valor. So maybe we'll just have a whole year of patriotic quilts for America's 250th birthday. Okay, and then we can come in between here. And those are done. And then we can put these guys on our last sashing row. I've also got to get a plan together for Stash Buster because I was looking around and I've moved my workspace for my day job up right next to my long arm. And so I was looking at all the bins and things that I have stacked around my long arm. I've got 4 or 5 of the big plastic tubs, not the real tall ones, but more of the flat rolling paper, wrapping paper size. So I've got 5 of them out there by my long arm, and I'm looking at 10 in here in my sewing room because I sorted all my fabric by color. So I'm thinking I just need to grab a bin and cut the fabric up and use it in monochromatic quilts, because my goal is to condense my stash and all my quilt projects to about a 48-inch square IKEA cubby cabinet, 4x4 cubbies. So we'll see how that project goes. I need to get back to where the stash is for specific projects, so I don't have all this mountain of extra fabric to use up someday. Let's see how we doing. Yeah, Amanda has too many tops. She's not doing any sew-alongs. Yeah, we gotta get busy quilting those previously made flimsies. Sheila's here. Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, let's see what Misty did for the 250th. Oh, she's jumping in on a project that started in 2022, so 48 blocks behind. Well, have fun with that. That's the thing. It really is not a race, so you don't have to finish. I have a quilt that I started maybe 10 years ago. It was going to be a tribute to my 25th college reunion. And 2 years ago, I went to the 30th college reunion with no quilt finished. So, yeah, we'll get there someday. It's okay. And then, oh, that's what happened. I did not cut those apart yet. That's why that block looks funky. Oh, yeah. How many blocks would it be, Misty, in total? Like 60 some? She wants to catch up with the 48 blocks and then finish by June. So, yeah, that's a good goal. Hello, Crystal. Thanks for stopping in. And Amanda's already finished 2 quilts. So that is awesome. And she wants to quilt 2 more this month. Yeah, I just took one off the long arm, but it was a customer quilt. So I haven't done any of my own yet. I shared a separate video of my Elizabeth Hartman animals. So that was my finish at the last minute of 2025. And yeah, this quilt of Valor will be a good finish for, and I don't even know what the heck I'm doing here. I was like, I need to get this last block, but it's turned all around all crazy. So, see, that's what happens when you have sashing strips that go the length of fabric, or the width of fabric, as the terminology is. Okay, so I've got all the blocks done. Yay. So my question as we're planning all these other projects is, should we rotate projects? And so you only work on the quilt 1 week a month, or should we go straight through? And because, and this is interesting because I remember listening to someone talk about productivity years ago, and they actually timed the projects, and they would spend 2 hours a day on project A, B, C, D. So 8 hours, 2 hours per project. And it was like they didn't have it. It took them like 3 weeks to get project A done. Whereas if they started and only worked on project A for, 16 hours, that's only 2 days of work. And then they could move on to B. So then they got like 3 projects done in the time that it would have taken if they were multitasking. So it was talking about how focused effort can get you to the end result faster than, even though we all think that multitasking is great and we can do several things at once. And that's how we end up with all these whips that I'm trying to finish. So I'm leaning towards, maybe less variety, but more completion, rather than jumping around to 16 different projects. So Misty is telling us she's going to be making 56 total blocks. Yeah, you can definitely show off a quilt top. Okay, so I've got all my blocks. I'm going to rotate a little bit. No peeking behind the curtain. I put that up to contain the mess, so it makes a nice, pretty background for my photos. And then I've got my pretty little Aliso, and we're going, I should let it warm up before I try. So I've got a blue batik with kind of these, I call, they're like veins or fern leaves, and then that is paired with this stripy. And then I've got this other watercolor blue batik with this red that kind of has a southwestern pattern on it. You can see there's like a howling wolf coyote down there. There's just different little southwestern animals. And then my third set of fabrics that I'm using in this sashing was, again, a darker, more subtle watercolor batik and a just a mottled red. It's got a very little bit of texture. It's the Shadow Play line. If you're familiar with Shadow Play, that's a great blender when you just need a solid color. I don't like to use like true solids. I find them kind of flat and boring. So I do like to get things like Shadow Play or Dimples, or something that has a little bit of grunge, Moda grunge. I love to use those as solids. And of course, watercolor batiks are some of my all-time favorites to use when I want that tone-on-tone color. Is what I go for most often. So I'm gonna I have to keep my different patterns, sashings in order. I'm pressing all of these out to the sashing. I don't think the book gave us directions anywhere. And then I will be able to sew these 4 patches together. And it's really nice because these quadrants with the sashing already sewn on, these are 9 inches across. And so that when you put two quadrants to make half of your square, that's 18 inches. 18-inch blocks make a really nice quilt really fast. So I'm in love with these 3-yard patterns, just simple repetitive blocks that you can really dress up with different color combinations. And I like to do that. When I am scrappy, I tend to be controlled scrappy, and I'll find several different reds to coordinate. So it's not a completely different red in every space. There's a plan to it. So I'm liking that. So good to see you. And I know you've told me before, but that was last year. I don't remember. Julie? Let me know if I remembered that right. Complimenting me on my hair. And I'm sitting here thinking that I need a haircut. It's like long and flat on my face. I've been going to the same hairdresser now for over 20 years. It's really nice when you know someone and she knows your hair and you can just go and get a good haircut without the stress of wondering if it'll turn out okay or if you can recreate it at home. And oh, Karen, terribly sorry. I don't know where I got Julie in my head. And I am guilty of the same thing. I go and comment on people's channels and they don't know who I am. They're like, "Hi, True Blue." And Linda has she changed her handle so that it's Irish Sail Lady Dash Linda. And I tried that, but it changes your channel name. At least when I did it, maybe it was because I was on my iPad. When I tried that trick to change my name to True Blue Quilts Dash Andy, it broke all the links. It tried to change my channel name to True Blue Quilts Andy, and that's not what I want. I have way too many video links going to True Blue Quilts. I'm stuck with it. So it's like having a code name. If you know, you know. No, don't change your name. I'll get it straight. You just may have to remind me 5 more times. Does anyone watch the morning talk shows? Did you see Melanie from the We Do Not Care Club on Good Morning America? I saw the post on Facebook. Oh my gosh. So cool that she's made such a splash for us menopausal women. I was super annoyed last fall when I went to my doctor for my annual checkup because I was just, kind of mentioning that maybe I'd like to see a specialist to have my hormones checked because I had a hysterectomy years ago and was never offered any hormone replacements. And of course, she was spouting the party line about how that increases breast cancer and blah, blah, blah. And I understand, that's fine. But I would like it to be more of a conversation. I would have liked to been offered the potential and discuss the pros and cons, but it wasn't ever even offered. So trying to catch up here, 5+ years later, I was asking the doctor, my primary care specialist, can I get a referral to someone to have my blood work done and figure this out? Because I've got extra weight on my belly and I have been going to the gym and lifting weights and not seeing a change, and it's not like I'm sitting here, eating French fries and Big Macs in between every meal. No, I stick to a pretty good, healthy diet. And yeah, it's super frustrating not to be able to lose the weight. So I'm on this whole menopause belly bandwagon. And my doctor she just was like, yeah, that's what you have to deal with being an aging woman. I'm like, that's crap. So, good for Melanie for getting the word out that we do not care. We do not accept this reality. So that's my rant. I'm sorry. Let's get back to the pretty fabric and quilting. Happy talk. Okay. So trimming. I was just trying to think. You're going to have to see the side view as I throw things in and out of the view of the camera and trim up all my blocks. I have a new cutting mat and I haven't taken the time it's a rotating mat and I haven't taken time to set it up, and I really need to do that and share it with you. And if I'm trimming these blocks, I should do it properly. And I was just doing the top and bottom where there were the major pieces to cut off from. But I do need to check the sides because some of those sashing strips are a little wide here. And I've got some nice length on my scraps, so we'll save those. And okay. Trying to remember which center line I should be lining up on as I turn the mat and go. 3. Yeah, I can get a square out of that. We'll keep that one. And okay, we're impromptu. Give me just a second. I'm still here. I'm just gonna grab that other mat and okay. I have a nice, reasonably cheap rotating mat. I think my husband got it for me on Amazon years ago. Works fine. And I'm trying to think, where can I throw all my other stuff? Okay. But I splurged last year at QuiltCon and got the So Tights magnetic cutting board. So let's pull this out and give it a try, because that ruler was slipping around on this mat, and that is exactly what So Tights will help us out with. If I can figure out how to open the box. Oh, there's tape. Get my non-fabric scissors and cut through the tape. Have you heard of So Tights? They are magnets, and a lot of people, they have an owner's kit. We don't need instructions. We're smart, capable women. We'll figure it out. Okay. So this is 11 inches. It's a nice rotating mat. Look at that. So cool. And then I've got the booster 6-pack of magnets, because they sell a 6-inch square ruler, and I'll demo that in another video. But since I'm using my own big square that I'm not going to be able to fit on here, well, that's unfortunate. I needed these booster magnets because we'll be able to do half and half. I will line it up right there. And then I use the booster magnets and put them right on my ruler like that. And then I don't even have to worry about the, ooh, that's, likes to spin. Whee. And then, okay, I'm going to have to go on the website and see if all my magnets are jumbling together and see if they make a bigger size. And then I'd be able to so if any of you have issues with your fabric slipping as you cut, oh, that one was a little overconfident there. So I think they make square mats as well. I was just thinking this would work for my, of course I trimmed them all, but my half rectangle triangles for my temperature quilt. Yeah. Oh, hi, Zaza. Glad you could make it. She found magnets from Caterpillar, which is another good brand of cutting tools. I just ran into the So Tight folks first and am using their system. So I'll have to go online and see about the rectangular mat. So Karen, I'm glad that you had heard of those and wanted to see them in action. Okay, I think I will just have to be careful and line up my my 9-inch ruler and save this for a project where I have smaller blocks, because this is going to be just a little more tedious than using my bigger mat, to make sure that we are lined up. Although I know where the halfway mark is, so I can get that. But you know, the benefits of having the rotating mat are offset by the fact that it's too small for these size blocks. So, but it's pretty fun playing with magnets. Okay, so we've had the demo there. I'm going to go back to my other bigger mat. If I can, where did I put it? Oh, right there. And don't rush out and buy them. If you're interested, give me a few days to grab the affiliate link, and I can get you a discount code. And yes, Misty, that's a great DIY option, to get a piece of sheet metal, or even like I've heard of people using the oil pans, like the big, go to the auto parts store. They have big, like oversized cookie sheet type things that are metal. I remember people spray painting them with chalkboard paint to make boards for little kids to put the magnetic letters on, and then you could just get your own magnets and make it yourself. So yes. And Zaza was saying that she's got the bigger size rotating mat. Yeah, 11 inches sounds like it's big enough, but you know, a 9-inch square, you've got that extra, it's almost 13-inch diameter. So geometry brain wasn't in action when I was at QuiltCon. So we will just have to carefully line this up like I know how to do, and cut 2 sides, and then rotate the 180 and line it up again, and get my other 2 sides, because it's not, I'm not needing the magnets. I still have enough arm strength that I'm okay keeping my ruler in position, but it's really nice to have that extra insurance. And I know a lot of people who have put the flat sew tights in the leaders for their long arm, and I am really intrigued by that method. So I figured I would start with the cutting mat, and then possibly buy the other pieces and use them on my long arm because I'm still one of the old-fashioned gals that uses corsage pins to pin my quilts on my long arm. Good. There. Here we go as we whisk it by 1/4 of the block. You know what? I have time to clean up my mess a little bit. And sew these 4 into the final block. So we're going to do our 2 pairs with the blue in the middle and along the bottom. And I realized I didn't, it only took me 11 months from QuiltCon in February 2025 to January 2026 to show you one of my purchases. When is it too late to do a what Santa brought me video for? Because I've got a couple quilt things to show you that I got for Christmas. And I haven't done that yet. I need to. You're allowed to leave your Christmas decorations up until January 6th, Epiphany. My neighbors still have some decorations out in their yards, and I keep thinking, come on, guys, get them put away. I didn't have that struggle this year because we didn't even decorate, really. Oh, Karen's. Thank you, Karen. Oh, and you figured out your name. That's wonderful. Show what Santa brought anytime. Well, thank you for that encouragement. I will do that. It won't take very long. It was I have three wonderful prizes. Well, 4 if we count the books, the non-sewing books. And Jess, next week you'll be in California for Road to California. I was just thinking we didn't see Lori tonight. And I think she is on the road. She said she was driving cross country. And I'm just irritated that my work has a mandatory event next Thursday and Friday. That's when I was planning to drive over to LA to meet up with everybody, but I guess that will have to wait until I'd love to say next year, but in my head, I'm going to be retiring in April of 2027. So it's I'll probably not be doing very much travel in the spring, those few months ahead of my retirement date, but we'll see. My dream after I retire from my full-time job is to be a traveling quilt teacher. So open the calendar. Let's plan something for late 27, early 28, and I'll come visit you in person. Oh, Karen still has Christmas decorations, but she didn't put anything up until December 22nd. You're in that month window. You're good. Oh, and Sheila had a good suggestion. We were talking about getting sheet metal to do your own magnetic cutting boards that you could put under your mat. And she said sign companies. That's a good idea. Okay. Okay, little thread savers off. And here we go. Here's another finished 4-patch for Nebula. And yeah, I think this is going to be really, really fun. So I get to this stage and then I start thinking about the quilting designs. And the problem with patriotic, especially like this, where the inside of the star is a different color than the star points, is I want to do an all over design. So I may just do a pantograph and not worry about matching the thread, because usually when I'm doing custom quilting, I will match. And so for this quilt, it would mean doing something red in the sashing and in these squares, but you can't really travel. So that's a lot of stop and start and stitch in the ditch. And for a charity quilt, it's going to look just fine with a really pretty all over pantograph. And I probably will just use maybe a light blue. You'd be surprised at how nice light blue looks even across quilts with high contrast. So I will let you know. I'm going to have to lay this out somewhere and, plan how the rows will go, because I've got the two different backgrounds. Let me show you on my fancy sharing. I've got this that's a little more tan, and then I've got this one that's more yellow. So we've got those two backgrounds, and you can see here on my workspace that this is a little darker than the other one, but those will be fun blocks to put together. And then that's not showing up anywhere on this workspace. I was trying to do it here. Ignore the hanger. And then those blues are going to be just a little bit offset there. And so I have to plan out where the different backgrounds, where the different sashing goes. Zaza is saying the variegated thread, red, white, and blue. And I am not a fan of variegated threads. I bought a lot of them when I first started long arming. And what I am finding is that the color run between, how frequently they change colors, red, white, blue, even if it's 3 to 6 inches long on the spool, it does not complete a pattern. And so then you, especially with high contrast, red, white, blue, that white is just going to show up as random spots of light color thread. And you wouldn't be able to see the texture of whatever design I choose. So that's why I personally stick with a solid color thread. And, you know, everybody can make their own quilts. So I'm not going to tell you never use variegated. I'm just going to tell you why I choose most of the time. Excuse me, scratchy throat, not to use variegated. So we'll hang this guy up. And yes, I'll have to come back through and press because I only pressed the individual blocks. And now we've got a little more to do there. But that is about all we have for tonight. I think I should have some time this weekend, especially with our U.S. holiday. We are celebrating Martin Luther King Day on Monday, and gosh, you know, with the state of the world, we really do need to listen to Dr. King's speeches and really ponder that. So Karen, yeah, I had all the hangers sitting here, and it's turned out to be really handy to keep my blocks. So right now I have two sets. So I have my Nebula blocks on a hanger, and I have my four-wheeling. This was my New Year's Day scrappy project, and I have 6 blocks done so far. Probably a couple more because I took this project in my sewing bag to class a few weeks ago. And yeah, Misty agrees. The variegated can look really spotty, but lighter pastel colors. Yeah, again, it's all about the contrast. You know, we love big blocks like this with high contrast so we can see the shapes that we put in our quilts, but then that creates a problem if you try and carry that through to the thread. So oh, and the Nightbot is mad at you, Misty. I don't care how many emojis you use, but apparently the internet folks do. Thanks so much, Crystal. I am happy with it. And I am excited because I am going to a quilt class tonight with Teresa, the AI quilter, and she's going to talk to us about using AI and chatbots in your quilt planning stuff. So that'll be really fun. I did get the chance to interview Teresa last spring for season 5 of my podcast, Quilting on the Side. And we just kicked off season 6 yesterday. So hop over to Quilting on the Side, either on podcast platforms or here on YouTube, and see what Tori and I have to say about the quilt industry. And thank you all for being here. I will see you very, very soon. Have fun quilting.